Mentally Morbid.
This podcast represents the opinions of the speakers and guests to the show. By listening to this podcast or reading any content posted or shared by the Mentally Morbid creators, you agree not to use this podcast or blog as psychological advice. The content should not be used in lieu of medical or psychological advice or any legal capacity whatsoever, including but not limited to establishing standard of care. The content here is for entertainment and educational purposes only. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or blog. Please consult healthcare professionals for any medical or psychological care.
I think all phases of the moon mean that we're sad. Doesn't matter what phase we're in.
I've never looked at the moon and felt sad. Wistful. Curious.
The moon makes you want to go
melancholy.
Oh!
Everything makes you want to make noise, Kinsey. Even if you're
so
sad,
true.
you're so noisy.
Oh!
Welcome back, listeners. It's episode something. 42.
42.
Look at that. 42.
I
8
like that
more.
Doesn't even read it at this point.
Listen,
Puts it in, doesn't read it.
I've read it before and it's been wrong, so here we are. I'm Annie.
I'm Kayla.
I'm Kinsey. You've read it before and it's been wrong. You're the only one that controls both what it says and what you read, so I don't really know who's to blame here.
Stop
I
yelling
think
at
the
her. She didn't
crescent-
sleep at all.
Listen, the
Over.
crescent waxing moon has you attacking
Waxing
me.
crescent.
It's fine. It's fine. How was Barbie? I know you want to tell us. I don't care, but I know you want to tell us, so I'm happy you're happy.
Everybody, I went and saw Barbie yesterday. The movie theater was absolutely packed.
I
They
believe
had
it.
2 movie theaters dedicated to just Barbie, not Oppenheimer. Just Barbie had 2,
But
and
that
they were
movie looks
both
good.
full. The Oppenheimer one? It does.
Listen though, again, I still have only seen like one ad for that movie. I see shit about
I had
Barbie.
to look it up.
Right, I see shit about Barbie constantly. So
I had to look up a trailer because I was like, I'm pretty positive I know what this movie is about. And then I went and watched the trailer and I was like, yeah, Nazis.
You got to
it.
think about the demographics in our households, though. I'm watching
Oh,
Hulu,
yes.
and I'm seeing a lot of Oppenheimer, and I'm on Kevin's account.
That makes sense.
yeah, the Oppenheimer people definitely decided, they were like, that's not our audience. Moving on.
Right, it's
Right.
the Kevin
So
audience.
So I dressed up in my Barbie outfit, and Connor came home and he's like, are you dressed up to go see Barbie? And I was like, yes. And then
It's
we
normal.
all went to, it's normal. Stop looking at me. So then we went to the movie theater and everyone was dressed up with Barbie stuff. And so I didn't feel stupid. He felt stupid. Anyway.
Connor, DJ went?
Did he, though?
DJ and Connor, yeah.
Oh.
Did he feel stupid, though?
No.
Yeah,
I don't
think he did.
I don't think so. But so we got there and the movie was really good. I was trying to tell DJ, I was like, they keep saying this movie is for everybody. And it really was. DJ and Connor both had a really great time. They thought it was really fun. It's very feminist heavy, obviously, because it's Barbie. But like, they took it.
It's
and
Barbie
ran.
2023.
I
It's
saw
Barbie
that.
2023.
I actually saw that people are upset about that, and I was like,
They are.
that's concerning.
Wait, what?
They are.
People
I
are
have
They're
not seen
upset.
Barbie hype.
people are upset about
Whoa.
how feminist Greta Gerwig made the movie. And I was like, well, y'all can fuck off. Like, that's...
It's 2023. What do they want? Like, I don't know what they
Right.
expect at this point.
Ryan Gosling was a
He's so cute.
great choice.
Oh
He
my
was
God.
a great choice for Ken.
I've been seeing a lot of the little blurbs
One of the
from
Kens.
his... Oh, there's more than one Ken?
You gotta watch it.
I am. It's on the list already. I've been seeing a lot of blurbs where I saw this like short excerpt from one of his interviews, and he was like, my daughters were surprised I wanted to take this movie. And then they got really into it with me. And honestly, like, I think this has been my favorite movie role so far. Like, I was made to play kid.
It was so, I like kept looking at DJ. I was like, he's so good at this role. It's so funny. Michael Cera is in this movie.
I saw that.
But Ryan Gosling, I feel like he's one of those, like, he does his action movies, his serious roles. He's really good. Like, he's really dynamic. But I always love him in the goofier roles. Like, those are my favorites.
I think it's so funny
Did a really
because
good job.
I must have mentioned it to a client, or a client brought up Barbie, and I mentioned Ryan Gosling, and they like didn't know who he was, and I was like, "That's because you're not his audience." It was like an older man, I think, and I was like, "You're like the wrong. You're not who he's played to. He is literally the rom-com king. Like, I don't know."
Yeah. He did.
Then,
He must have done some serious like ab workouts because his body literally looks plastic because it is so like his abs. There was like an 8-pack. It was great.
But they can draw those on now.
I think these were real.
I'm gonna touch them.
I really wanted to touch them. I really wanted to touch them. There's one outfit in that movie that it was an absolutely ridiculous outfit that he had on. And I looked at DJ, I was like, why is that my favorite outfit that he has?
I'm just, okay, the only thing is, because I want to see it, just because I like movies like this, where like the toys come to life kind of a thing. Like, it's the world. Like, it's cool to see the world. But I still don't know what it's about. And don't tell me Barbie, because I understand that she's the character. But what's the plot?
They basically like have to go, is it California? They have to go to like California because Barbie Land stops working.
I haven't seen a single trailer that showcases that.
Yeah, her feet go flat.
Her feet go flat, and her dream shower won't turn on.
That's painful. Flat feet are painful. You got to get the arch support.
No, it's not that it won't turn on because it's all pretend. There is no water that comes out of that shower. The pretend water is hot on her perfect days, and then the pretend water is cold whenever it's not working anymore. So like she's like literally just holding her hands out in the air because it's Barbie. There is no water. The pools are fake. Everything's fake. There's no water in her cup. It's great. I was telling because I was trying to warn DJ. I was like, you have to remember that they are doing things the way that kids play with Barbies.
He plays D&D. I don't want to hear anybody who plays D&D complain about the fake in Barbie.
He wasn't complaining. He thought it was great. Like, he thought, he was like, okay. He understood, but I wanted to, like, make sure I'm like, it's so funny to watch, like, Margot Robbie, the hottest woman on earth,
right?
Who has clearly surpassed Megan Fox in every way. She's playing through all of these, like, actions, and it's just so funny to watch because I love it. It was really good.
I also saw a really funny thing the other day because unlike Annie, my entire timeline is Barbie and people that want to go see Barbie, where basically someone was complaining. They were like, I don't understand when Margot goes on press tours why she has to have an Australian accent. Like, you clearly have done a good job with the movie. You don't have to impress me with the accents that you know how to do. And people were like, She's
literally Australian.
She is Australian. Don't yell at her.
Oh no.
It was so funny.
No, I did see like a tweet from some man, obviously, talking about don't go see this movie. It's like riddled with feminism and
people are like literally upset that like we would. I don't understand. I'm like,
no, guys, I understand it. I can't believe that in today's age we would support women and women's rights and what's good for women. How dare they?
Right. I don't
How
think we
disrespectful to people.
Right. Aren't we people? We're not people.
No. We are property.
Apparently not.
Property.
No, we are property.
No, property would mean I wouldn't have to pay taxes, right?
Oh God.
Property would mean I wouldn't have to go to work. My chair is property.
That's a good
chair
point.
Looks happy.
I'm definitely like Barbie in California. my make-believe land is reaching my not make-believe land, and there's a lot happening. I don't like it.
It does go pretty far into feminism, but I mean, obviously, I'm gonna like it because it was true.
I think I understand it for that movie in particular, that they would play it up even more because it has such a past of not being feminist minded,
and they talk about it. They bring it.
Yeah.
They bring it up and they talk about it.
Listen,
Interesting.
I don't even understand why you think women should have rights.
Some days I wonder why we have rights. It's hard. It's a lot of work. And then a man tells you what to do. Listen, I saw a meme yesterday. It said, I love dominant men, but I will body slam a man if he tries to tell me what to do.
Listen, yes.
You can't say that to Kevin.
I like what you just said. You can't have it both ways. I'm either going to be a housewife and I don't have to go to work every day, and I can just work on my body and making the house look nice and stuff, or I get opinions and I go to work. Those are the options.
Listen,
you can't have both.
I have been at home for 3 days with my dog, right? I haven't been working crazy amounts, so I've had a lot of time to like kind of get stuff done at the house. And for the 3rd day in a row, I've been trapped in my house. I literally got mad at Kevin because he took a nap. He doesn't know this. I got mad at him when he took a nap because I'm like, you took a nap. I have dishes I got to go do. And I'm like, I worked like 3 hours today. No, granted, I sat and did like billing and stuff, but it's not like it's hard work. I watched Justified while I did that. But I'm like, you can't work this amount of hours, where he went to work for 8 on his feet and then be like, oh, how dare you nap?
I literally understand. I spent such a long time the other day talking about this because it is actually ridiculous. And for our listeners, I think I mentioned this like an early episode, but one of my bachelor's is in women's and gender studies. So like I am very, very passionate about this. But
I forgot you were double batch.
I was. Oh, you forgot. I thought you said you thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's exactly what I just said.
Yeah.
I literally just said that. Please listen.
I heard thought instead of forgot. So I just find it absolutely insane, the change in perception. So we have gone from a society in which women are expected to be full-time homemakers. We have then stacked on the responsibility of being part of the further part of the household without taking any of that responsibility off. So now women are in charge of all household related and child related tasks, as well as working full-time, while men on average are doing just as much household stuff now as they were in the 1950s.
You want to know what I love about this?
Why?
Women cannot be perfect. Listen to this. Do you hear any background noise in my house?
No, it's nice.
You can't. But if you were on my side, you could. And it's the sound of Kevin doing the dishes. And I just think that's very nice that in this current conversation, my husband decided to get up and do the dishes.
Right. And like, not all men are the same, right? But a man's responsibility has and always has been to help out of the house.
It's the expectation, right?
Doing his full-time job. That has been, he's supposed to quote unquote help out. Women
I hate that language.
Full-time caretakers, as well as now most women are working full-time now. And it's the emotional and labor load is insane. And then we all do it. All 3 of us do it. We get so excited. I know we all get so excited when you come home and your husband or partner has cleaned the house. You're like, oh, thank God. I know. Kayla has literally
so good.
Kayla has thrown her body in DJ from coming home from a girls' weekend in the house.
I can't do that. I'll hurt somebody.
One less thing to do.
Well, when it's Sunday and you don't get home until 5 p.m. and you're like, I can't believe I have to go to work tomorrow. And on top of that, the house is disgusting. I have to have a reset day.
No, I agree.
Or at least some sort of time set aside to reset, do laundry, make sure that my coffee is set up for the morning, make sure that everything is in place so that I can have a good week. Yep. If I don't have a reset time, I will have Monday will turn into Tuesday, will turn into Wednesday, and all of the shit just keeps piling up, and I have not reset. I will have a shit week.
Right. And it's just so funny because I feel like women in general, our expectation is, I want to have a clean house on Sunday to set up for success for the week. Men do not think like that, which is, I think, why it's always a shock and a great surprise when they're like, I know you want the house cleaned this week, so I cleaned it for you. Not because they also see that having a clean house sets them up for success for the week.
I will say, DJ has gotten a lot better. Whenever we first met, it was like straight up dude-dom. Like, just dude. All the time, dude. Nothing's clean. All
you
of
were
that.
also 12, so.
Yeah, he was 20, but I was not 12. Whoa, back up.
He was 20.
Caleb says he was 20, but yes, I was 12.
He wasn't 12.
No.
Wow.
I was
Tone and context matter.
We are only a year and a half apart, everybody. Wow. So he was around 20 whenever we met. He was 19, but whatever. So anyways, we have had several open conversations about the word help. Mm-hmm. I do not want your help. You live here too. I understand why we use the word help, but like the mindset of help is not what it is to be a part of the household. Right.
If you put it in like a business context, you understand it more. If it is your responsibility to handle these tasks at work, you are not helping your coworkers by doing it. You are getting your job done. So I would not go up to my boss and say that I helped you get this done today. I would say I finished my tasks. Yeah, so and that's why when we talk about like having to tell, other people what to do in the house, because I've worked with both sides of this, where it's both genders. I've worked with both sides of this. If you have to go and tell somebody what they need done each time, consider it in the context of a boss and an employee. If your boss has to tell the employee every day what to do, then that employee apparently cannot handle that responsibility and should not have that responsibility. Right?
Yeah. It's the initiative part. Like, we actually, because DJ is a manager, so he's been going through doing reviews for his employees. And we were talking at the table, me, DJ, and Connor. For everyone who doesn't know, Connor is our roommate.
Or throuple, who knows, really.
Connor's their third.
Maybe he's 12.
He's our third.
Oh.
He's not. He's 28, 29. He'll be 29 in September. August. Anyway. We were all sitting around the table. I know. I just woke up. We were all sitting around the table, and Connor was telling DJ what he got on his review because they don't work together anymore. And I was like, DJ, review me. I was like, in like daily life, give me a review.
Oh no.
And like he went through all the numbers and stuff, and he gave me a very low score for adulting. Like, not initiative. I forgot the category of it, but he's like, basically like he kind of translated it from work to life, and he called it adulting. And I was like, he gave me like a 3 out of 7 or something like that. And I was like, why would you give me a 3? And he was like, well, because like whenever it comes to like adulting, like doing the taxes, paying the bills, doing all that stuff. And I was like, okay, I understand why I got a low score. However,
you can't argue with your boss, Kayla.
However, the only reason I don't do any of those things is because he's part of my life and he does them for me. Okay,
Kayla said, based on your perspective, what kind of score would you give me? And then proceeded to tell DJ why his perspective was wrong.
No, I didn't tell him he was wrong. I was like, I only do those. I only don't do those things because you already do them.
Okay, so what you said was, go ahead.
I do find it really interesting, right? I feel like anytime a partner tells the other partner, like, oh, I feel like I'm doing the majority of the load, like, you really see other people's perspectives where they're like, all this stuff takes so much time. And DJ here is like, the once a year taxes we do take me a lot of time. So like, I don't really
No. DJ does a lot of stuff at home. He
For
does a
sure.
lot.
It's just like the things that he's saying take him a lot of time. I mean, that doesn't take away from
dad,
all the stuff.
I used to get in. Go ahead.
You know, like, you're also doing a lot of stuff, so...
I know. I got in an argument with my dad once because I was telling him to basically, there's a hummingbird!
No, Kayla, I need you to
feeder.
stop. Come back. Oh, no. Come back.
I was telling my dad that he needs to get up and help my mom because my mom he was very stereotypical, like my mom did everything in the house. She worked a full-time job. She did everything with me and Clay, like all that stuff. And I would always get in arguments with him. I'm like, you need to get up and do something. And he's like, I mow the lawn and I clean out the drains in the bathtub. And I was like,
okay.
Both of those tasks are like once every 2 weeks. And the hair clog in the drain is like once every 6 months.
We can also
Not
just
in my house.
Right. Just get...
It's a cheap shampoo.
Yeah, you're going bald.
And he's like, I gotta dig that shit out every other day.
Between me and Aurora.
Just get the little thingy just get the hair catcher. Yeah, never do it again.
I will say though, I have somewhat of a middle ground view because I recognize that there are a lot of, it's not just that they don't want to. I think that the words that we use sometimes, if they wanted to, they would. But I think there are a lot of reasons that it happens, that there's this discrepancy between expectations. Because I consider that if Kevin came into the household and was like, it's really important for me for the tires to be clean all the time. Like it bothers me when the tires aren't clean on the car. I don't know that I want to make that my priority. If that bothers him, that to me kind of seems like more of a him thing. That I can help him occasionally, but I'm not going to make it my priority. Mm-hmm. So I think there's somewhat of a difference, not all the time, because there's a difference in my house is very dirty and my house is spotless. Like that's a big middle ground, to cover. Mm-hmm. So I do think that we can relax on the household stuff sometimes. We talked about that, right? Of our expectations can be overwhelming for ourselves. But then it's kind of like meeting in the middle sometimes. But anyways, so I just think it's more complex than we like to give it. I think it's easy to just kind of start going, well, men need to change this, this, and this. But I don't think it's always as easy as we think it should be.
Right. And part of the conversations that I've had is that the thresholds are different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So his threshold for being dirty to the point where you need to clean the whole house or clean up a section of the house is much higher than my threshold. I see 3 things on the counter and I'm like, we got a deep clean, all of it. The floor needs to be mopped, like all of it. And like, and it sets me off to the point where I'm like, I need to get this, and this done for me to feel satisfied that the house is clean.
Yep.
Whereas his threshold is like way up there to where he could walk past the same pair of dirty socks on the floor for months until he notices that they're there.
Right.
And it really is. It's not noticed. Like it's not. I didn't want to see it. Because I've noticed that before. When I actually sit back and don't just go with frustration, it's like, okay, you actually didn't see this. And I give this example to my clients a lot. I talk about how one day I came in, I think I had like extra time and I like really cleaned like a deeper clean of the house and like it smelled really, really good. It looked so clean. And Kevin came in and didn't say anything. So I was like, okay, wow, what an asshole, right? What an asshole. You didn't even say anything.
He's ready to fight already.
Right. I was ready to go down. Yeah.
I'm ready.
For sure. Murder. For sure on Snapped. A week later, because I always use this for clients. A week later, I came in the house and we're sitting there, we're chit-chatting. And then Kevin's like, yeah, I mowed the lawn. And I realized I didn't even recognize that the grass was cut. It had been really high before that. And I had no awareness that the grass had been cut. And I'd been home at this point for a little bit. I'd already looked outside. I'd been outside with the girls for a second. did not even realize it because it was not on my radar. And so that really just put into perspective how different focus we can have on things, and that maybe sometimes the socks aren't so easy to see because it's not their typical perspective. It's not what they're typically looking for. Our brains have a natural tendency to seek certain things out, and it might just not be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
so it is training.
I like that example. I will say, I almost also ended up on Snapped recently when I spent.
No.
When I spent,
we're not surprised.
We're
more surprised you haven't already been on Snap.
I spent the entire fucking day, and like you guys know me. I asked for the affirmation. I asked for the affirmation. I spent the entire day cleaning. Gus walks in, and listeners, my boyfriend does not live with me, but he sure as heck acts like he does. Man has shit everywhere.
Oh God, here we go. How dare he put his shoes by the door?
Oh my God, he has shit everywhere. And I've been frustrated in the past because like I do a good amount of his laundry because he usually comes here after work and puts his stuff in the laundry hamper. And when the laundry hamper is full, I do the laundry like that. And then he goes to his parents' house and he's like, I don't have any clean clothes. And I'm like, bitch, I wash all of your clothes. Come get them. They're clean. But all that aside, he walks in and I'm like, doesn't the house look nice? And he's like, it looks
just like
right. He's like, it looks exactly the same as every other day. And
oh no, Gus, you fucked up.
Oh no. And he's still here?
He's still here. He's still here. We sat on the couch arguing for a good 20 minutes where I was like, you don't appreciate what I do around here. You need to do your own laundry. Yeah, I was like,
he doesn't even live there. You don't appreciate what I do in our household.
I was like, you need to stop putting, if you don't give a shit if the house is clean, you need to stop putting your fucking shit. I had like a whole, I had a conniption.
Pick me.
Yeah.
Kinsey, you are the queen of doing something that somebody else has not asked for and then been like, how dare you ask me for this? How dare you expect me to do this?
Oh, for sure. But
you
also
love making shit up in your head.
Also, I was like, all I wanted was for you to tell me the house looked nice. How dare you make a joke?
Tell me it looks pretty.
It was like, I was joking. I was like, I don't care.
Gus said, I'm never going to use humor again.
Gus was like, that's it. No more jokes in our relationship ever again. I was like, I do not care about any of the things I've done unless you're going to make a joke about it. And then I will never wash your clothes again.
Listen, it took me and Annie about 5 years to understand when and when not to joke with you. Gus has a long way to go.
It's like you throw a little pebble and then you throw a little bigger bit of a pebble and then maybe you throw a rock and you see where all these land first. I think we're learning. You know, I think we're doing a good job.
It really took me a very long time to understand your communication style.
I will say,
and it's very complex.
Oh, for sure. But I am a lot more stable now than when you guys met me. So there's also that.
That's also scary.
No, I like it. I can't wait to talk
always
with Gus.
likes the bad animals, so that's you.
No, I think what I figured out, Kinsey, is you're a very literal person because we've noticed this in the podcast before. If we say, we could do this, in your mind, done. We are doing it, and that's one of the things I've learned to notice. But now that we know that, it makes so much more sense why you're like, well, we said we were going to do this, and I'm like, oh, I'm already there. I know where we're going.
Me and Annie are like, it was just an idea. We were just throwing little ideas out. And Kenzie's like, I thought we were taking this all the way on tour. Right. Nobody told me. I already set aside time and canceled on my clients. Right.
No, this is definitely a problem. And my dad still has not figured this out. My dad would be like, you should do this. So I go do it. And he was like, I didn't tell you to do that. And I'm like, but you
How's your dad not figured that out yet?
I don't know.
Because he's not therapy. I'm telling you, I know what it is.
Oh.
It's you trying to get ahead of people so that you're not disappointing people.
Oh.
If I get ahead of them and go ahead and do it and go ahead and set it, then I know what to expect. My world is safer, and I can't disappoint people, can't upset them.
I do like
Kinsey
a safe world.
Kinsey
Yeah.
is a different kind of people pleaser. She's
Yeah. She's an angry people pleaser.
she is.
How dare you? As I'm
She will
searching
fuck
on
you up
Amazon.
to your face. Yeah. How dare you ask for things? It's on the way. Like, how dare you ask me for new things? It will be there on Thursday.
I'm still working on my boundary setting for sure, but
Yeah, you
Listen,
are.
I just had to learn it. I think we've all had to learn each other, right? I think we've all learned some more of our triggers. We've learned how people we operate. It's just part of it.
I definitely feel like I know you two on a completely different level than my other friendships because of work and school too, though, right? Like I'm just like, and I think that's what I do think that's what makes also my relationship with my undergrad friends so special. And I don't know if like you guys, I'm sorry, I don't know if Kayla feels this way. It's because like I've seen the highs and lows. I've seen like the struggle. Like I've seen like you get to see a lot of different parts of them, and that helps you understand people, right? Like it helps you like see. Like I've seen you when you haven't slept in 3 days, and I know what that looks like, and I know that this is just that, right? Like I've seen like you see the crazy come out.
And that's why I have such a hard time with making new friends. And I've talked to people about this. Now that I'm almost 30 years old, I have a really hard time making new friends because not only is it the awkward phases of like small talk and whatever, but it's also like I have to catch you up on everything that's happened in my life. Like I have to tell you about how horrible it was whenever I lost my dad. And I have to talk to you about like I have to catch you up and then I have to do it again. It's like whenever people talk about coming out, they don't come out just once. They come out constantly throughout their lifetime. It would be like me making a friend and then me having to remind them, because this happened first and then this happened. That's how I ended up here. So it's like you have to constantly like drag them back through all of the memories. And you're like, okay, I'm sick of this. I don't want to make any more friends. I just need my old friends who are already there from the beginning and who understand everything.
Right. No, for sure. And that's, I mean, the same reason I think people, I had a client tell me this last night, like, I don't want to get a new therapist, not because I don't need one, because I don't like my therapist. I want a new therapist, but because I don't want to have to do that.
Right. No, that's why I didn't go back to therapy.
And this therapist, for sure, like I've been encouraging her to try to find someone that's a better fit for her. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't want to have to go through that emotional load again.
Right. Whenever my insurance changed, I was like, okay, I guess I'm done.
It's a lot. It's a lot to be vulnerable with somebody like that.
Right. And that's a topic for another day, but insurance changing has like
wrecked your world.
It's when people say they need therapy, but they can't go, I understand why. Like, okay, you spent a year with this therapist and then your insurance changed and they don't accept that insurance anymore. And you're like, all right, I guess we're just going to call it quits. Well, anyway, Annie has a great story for us today because she woke up at 5 o'clock to do it.
No, I was still awake at 5 o'clock.
Oh.
I woke up at 7. 7:07, actually. I have a quick question, though. I saw this on something. I don't really know where. I forgot where I saw it. But I wrote it down today to ask you guys before we got into the story.
I picked C.
What's the color of a mirror?
Oh. It's green.
Green?
It's green.
The mirror?
Yes.
What? I would have said silver.
To be fair, I didn't know there was an actual question answer to this. I thought it was just like one of those things that like people argue about.
Are green?
It seems very mysterious.
No. Real mirrors aren't perfect, and their surface atoms give any reflection a very slight green tinge, as the atoms in the glass reflect back green light more strongly than any other color.
Well, so they're not green. They just have more green.
So I'm not
They
pale.
reflect green, which is what color is.
I'm
That cup is not blue. It just
fight.
okay. Forget it.
I actually think isn't that like it only reflects that certain like was it UV? Is that what it is? UV? Anyways, so I have a story today.
Wait.
What did you ask?
I saw the question and I thought it was like a mysterious like, oh, let's all try and figure out what color we think this. I didn't know there was an actual answer.
Oh
I'm so sorry
God.
I knew that. I'm so sorry I'm smarter than you.
What about the mirror in Harry Potter that shows you what you want to see? Is that possible?
Kayla, what about the made up mirror? What color is that?
The made up magic mirror. What color
is
it?
But you don't have an
gonna
answer
get
for
more
that
coffee before we start.
Like what? Like if
Go ahead.
it's made up in magic, is it also green? There she goes.
I think maybe it depends on the wizard because don't the wizards have different colors of magic?
Right.
Don't they?
I think that's more Star Wars, but yeah.
In the movie, I can't remember.
No, you're wrong.
Okay, so today I bring you a story merged between many resources, including Mayo Clinic, Theravive,
Mayo Clinic?
Mayo Clinic. Is it Mayo?
Mayo.
No, I don't like that.
Mayonnaise.
I'm gonna call it the Mayo. Yeah, I don't like that it's associated with mayonnaise. I just call it the Mayo Clinic. It sounds better, more professional. National Institute of Health, or the NIH, the DSM-5, and Wikipedia.
She made it.
You gotta put the strong one at the end. Listen, when they stop having such good, thorough information that is summarized exactly the way that I would want to summarize it, then I will not go to Wikipedia. But I like their categories. I like that the information is not throughout 15 different articles. It's all summarized into one. It's beautiful.
Right.
We should all donate.
You don't like when they, you don't like those articles where they're like, when I was a young child living on my grandma's farm. And then I don't need the recipe. I saw my first pear. And then
Skip to recipe every time. Skip to recipe.
Scroll down. Yeah, absolutely. So I bring you today the story of Howard Robard Hughes Jr.
I have a question. How many Howards are we going to do stories on? How many? Many.
Wait, Kinsey, how many do you think we've done stories on?
This has got to be at least 2, but it could be 3. I'm not really sure. Howie, Howard, Hubert. There's a lot of H's.
Have we done Hubert?
No, she's just making shit up.
Kinsey, what was the name of the guy with the rod through his head?
Phineas Gage.
Good job.
Oh my God. Look at the finger. I deserve it.
I did it!
Our listeners are never going to think there's a story today.
I did it!
Just keep listening. There's a story. So Howard Hughes Jr. So we're just going to call him Little Howard. Howard was born in 1905. Not Little Howard.
No, I'm not. I am shaking my head at Kinsey because she wanted to say something, and we are done with Kinsey.
So he's actually born the day before Christmas, 1905.
I was going to say Little Howard. He's in the psychology books, isn't he?
Oh,
isn't it like?
Little Howard? Remember him, Albert? But not Phineas Gage.
Little Albert. That's
Little Albert.
I was like, there's a little something. Not
Little Howie.
Did you even take Sci 101?
You know Little Howie.
I took Sci 101. Yes.
20 years ago.
It was a long time, yeah.
God, I'm gonna have
not
to
as long as it was for me, but I have taught it recently, so that's unfair. Yeah. Okay. So he was an American business magnate. Indictment. Indictment.
What does that mean?
He's a big person.
Oh,
okay.
He was a record-setting pilot, engineer, and film producer. They also call him a philanthropist. I wouldn't necessarily give him that title. Just because you're rich and give money doesn't make you a philanthropist. Sorry. But apparently, according to the definition, it does. But I just don't think it does. But that's another story for another day. So he was mostly, though, a film producer. He was also into real estate. They didn't put that, but he was really into real estate. So Howard was always
busy.
He was very busy. Like I said, big business, big rich, big money.
Sound like big money.
Yes. Also very
BDE.
eccentric.
BDE.
Yes. Yes. So he was very eccentric, had a reclusive lifestyle. So they say that he was OCD, and I'll tell you different things that he did that make us think that he was OCD. So I'm going to go into the story without giving you too much of the end point. So let's see. So he was known for some big movies. Now, Scarface, this was 1932. So I don't know if this was like a huge movie, but Scarface, of course, is a well-known name. So I don't know if that's something that everybody knows, but The Racket, Hell's Angels. So he produced some big movies. He also created and designed planes. He flew planes. He made a flying boat. Thought that was pretty cool. A flying
Like
boat.
Chitty Bang Bang?
That was a car?
It was, but he was also a boat. It was also a boat.
This isn't Huey the car.
How did the guy in the 1930s make a flying boat, but we still don't have flying boats?
We do have flying boats.
Airplanes.
No, think about it. They land on water. I mean, that's... I don't know. Listen, I didn't do the research on the flying boat, okay? He also bought property in Las Vegas. He is largely credited for transforming Vegas into more of the community that it is today, which is like the big city. So very, very, yes. In his time, very big name. Just to kind of show how big, he dated Joan Crawford, Katharine Hepburn, Gloria Vanderbilt, and many other, like Gina Tierney. So many, many big name females at the time, both celebrity and just rich and famous. So very well-known guy. Yes. He also killed a guy in a car accident, and I thought this was interesting just because of the nature of it. So it says that he hit a pedestrian, Gabriel S. Meyer, and I always love shouting out to rich people who get away with things. So this is why I'm including this, and that's the only reason I'm including this. He said that he walked out in front of his car at night in a like driving zone, but witnesses said that the guy was in the safe zone. They said that he was sober, but the doc said that he obviously had alcohol in his system. So they ruled it an accident that was unavoidable, but he hit and killed this pedestrian.
What?
So got away with it. Yeah, they dropped it because the witness changed his mind and said that, oh, actually, I got it wrong.
Right, it's almost
He
like
was
he got
in the
paid
driving
off.
area.
What a weird
Right.
coincidence. The
Crazy.
philanthropist with all the money cocked to him.
Yes.
This feels a lot like The Great Gatsby.
It does.
Yeah, I would honestly. It's kind of It's a little similarities there. So this is where we start seeing some eccentric behavior. So he ate the same thing for dinner pretty much every day: a New York strip steak cooked medium rare, a dinner salad, and peas. But he would only eat the smaller peas. The big peas bad. Big peas bad.
Why do we know that?
Why do we know?
Yeah.
He was rich.
He told people, don't serve me those peas.
Yeah. Let's see. He had a phobia about germs, Kinsey. He also told the aides that were aides with the E at the end.
Yeah.
That were screening with him not to look at him, not to talk to him as things got worse. There was a certain point, 1958, where he wanted to screen some movies at a film studio near his house. He actually moved closer to it. He didn't leave for like 4 months. So you can start to see like the decline where he's not leaving his house very much at all. So he's still very involved with his films, but he's like making it closer and closer to home. Let's see. So he wrote the detailed memos to the aides, telling them not to look, not to speak unless they're spoken to. He also would watch movies naked because they said that it's possible he didn't like the feel of his clothes on his skin. His hygiene started to get worse, and his nails started to grow very long.
But afraid of germs.
But afraid of germs, right. It's very backwards because he would also tell other people, like he would notice stains on their clothing and tell them to change. Like there was one point where they said that he wrote this very long, detailed approach of changing a woman's blouse in a movie because it looked like her nipples were showing. And so he wrote like this huge memo about why that's bad and what they need to do about it, down to like apparently just painstaking detail. He apparently would put a pink hotel napkin over his genitals so that it didn't offend people. Just picture that.
Too.
You walk.
Sorry.
He would use napkins and tissues to pick up things. and this got worse over time.
You know who this sounds like?
Monk?
SpongeBob.
Monk, yeah.
Oh.
I fucking love Monk. Monk is so.
Not really sure how we went to SpongeBob.
I love Monk.
He has an episode like this.
Yeah.
One episode?
Hey,
Oh,
who's
I
Monk?
can see why you would assume she would say SpongeBob.
You don't know Monk?
No.
Monk.
Monk is a TV show that my dad and I used to watch, and it's about this detective who has like really, really bad, like probably some autism, but also some like OCD, and he's just like very much like this. Like he can't pick things up without a napkin. Like he makes his assistant make.
It was very popular.
Yeah, I loved Monk. Is a good show. It's like
Oh, I remember.
it's similar to Psych. Less funny, but similar.
It's very, very similar to that, except for he doesn't go out and solve crimes. He stays in his house and makes movies.
Yeah, no, I remember this.
I love Monk.
I would have never thought of this again. Go on.
So they say that he had a plane crash, and this is where his symptoms begin to get worse. He also becomes addicted to codeine. He does have a lot of pain that's apparently caused by this plane crash. This really begins to exacerbate symptoms. He's also storing his urine in bottles at this time. This is not the episode on hoarding. If you like hoarding, go back, but this is not hoarding. This is OCD still at this point.
Good plug.
Yeah. Good plug. So he moves to Las Vegas for a bit. He refuses to leave the Desert Inn. He doesn't leave and doesn't open the windows. And I know this because the drapes apparently were rotted through when he did move out. The employees found them. So it did not move that entire time. So he's really shutting the drapes. Yeah. The curtains were rotted through because of, I guess, just non-use. But the reason that he moved is because they began to test the bombs at that point in the desert, and he did not like that that was that close. He actually tried to bribe the president like $1 million or so just to get them to not test them so close to him. So because they wouldn't stop, he moved out of that. And then he went, I think, to Nicaragua, I think is where he went to, but then they had earthquakes, so then he moved again. So he's moving around and leaving the premises, but only because he feels that there's threats in those locations. Mm-hmm. So at this point, he is starting to hardly ever leave any rooms. He's addicted to codeine. He eventually dies on a plane, not because of the plane, but on a plane. They're saying it was due to kidney failure. That's what they actually ruled it as. But the autopsy showed that somebody injected him with some kind of painkiller that actually was the killing agent. So what they eventually say that he had was not just OCD, but do we know?
Agoraphobia.
Yes. So that's where our little psychology is going to come from today. So agoraphobia, for those who do not know, is a type of anxiety disorder. So this is where you are very scared of public places. And this is why we're thinking that Howard Hughes experienced agoraphobia, because not only was his OCD so bad that it was just uncomfortable to live day to day, but it also got to the point where he could not leave his house or his room because of the stress that it would bring him. And he was just so scared of dying in different ways. And so when you leave your house with agoraphobia, you might feel very trapped. You might feel very helpless. You might feel like you're just due to get harmed at any given point. So you can fear actual or upcoming situations. So you're going to be scared of open or enclosed places, public transportation, standing in line, being in a crowd, anything that is outside of what you consider your safe zone. And it doesn't usually start off like this, right? So usually, and this is why I tell people sometimes when they start to like struggle with going to work with anxiety, I'm like, we got to look at the cycle of anxiety, that if we keep not being able to engage in daily life, that the extreme of this looks like agoraphobia. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times this starts off in younger years as just mild symptoms of anxiety that we're continuously avoiding situations, and it grows into we are no longer able to leave the house because of the distress. So, any thoughts so far?
Yeah. So it started off because of his symptoms with OCD, and then the plane crash amplified it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's hard because this is not written from the point of view of a
From a
licensed
therapist, yeah.
yeah, from any kind of medical professional. So this is just kind of people looking at his life and going, okay, this is what happened. And
Right.
now
Well,
they say that he had
if I had to
yeah.
guess, it was the germophobia mixed with the OCD that kicked it off, and then the confirmation from what happened with the plane crash probably amplified it.
Yeah, because when I first read it, and I was telling Kinsey, the story didn't seem as juicy in the beginning because it basically just said he had agoraphobia after the plane crash. But honestly, when I actually read through the story, the way it reads more of is that he already was experiencing symptoms of agoraphobia. He just wasn't quite as trapped yet. Because you can leave your house with agoraphobia. It doesn't mean that you never leave. It just means that you're experiencing this extreme distress when you do leave.
Right.
And isn't it the for agoraphobia, isn't the absence of an exit plan usually one of the top symptoms of that? Like if your brain can't see a way to get out of something, then the agoraphobia amplifies your anxiety.
I don't know that that's like written down like that, but I would say that would be something that would worsen it, that would escalate the situation. Kinsey, what is your knowledge of it?
I don't have a ton of knowledge other than movies and TV shows I've watched. I've never met someone with agoraphobia or treated them. I was curious, like, what the demographics look like for that. If it's like mostly men or women, or what the ages. Do you have that info?
I do actually. So in the population, we're looking at about 1.3%, and males and females are actually equal.
I will say, just to pause you, I hate the DSM statistics because they say that every single diagnosis is 1 to 3% of the population. And that drives me.
I Googled this one, but so I don't know. I think this one came from the National Institute of Health.
Good.
But
I just feel like it's always 1%, and that drives me bonkers. Okay, continue.
This is 1.3 though.
Oh,
1.3.
Very specific.
Yeah, very specific. And with COVID, they say there's the hypothesis that the numbers are increasing because of the anxiety from COVID, and I would absolutely, I would agree with that theory. Yeah. So just some for people who aren't very aware of what agoraphobia is, the diagnostic criteria in order to actually get diagnosed with this, you have to have some kind of disproportionate fear, which means an irrational fear with at least two different situations, such as open spaces, public transport, or crowded areas. So it can't just be like, oh, you're scared to go to one place, because that's more of a phobia than it is agoraphobia as a whole. So it's a general fear, at least two places. You have to have some kind of immediate anxiety response when exposed to the stimulus. So when you're in this environment or in these environments, you have to have this immediate sense of panic, heart racing, feeling dizzy, breathlessness, all the symptoms of anxiety. Mm-hmm. You've also got to have the recognition of the fear as disproportionate. So we recognize that there's not an immediate threat. There's nothing that we can say is probable that's going to happen to you. And we have to have some kind of avoidance of these situations so that we're beginning to see where they're not going into these areas because of this fear. So they're not managing it well, basically. And then this is for at least 6 months across all age groups. There's no age difference on this. So that's what agoraphobia is in terms of diagnosis. Mm-hmm. Let's see some causes of this. So there's not one single cause. Pretty typical as far as mental health disorders go, and especially anxiety disorders. We're going to say it's childhood trauma, previous history of mental illness. Let's see, certain personality types, individuals who crave control or approval. Shout out to our OCDers, right? Chemical and hormonal balances in the body or brain. So this is pretty standard on what we're looking at for most mental health disorders. I think a lot of this is a mixture of what we typically see, which is the environmental. I mean, I think if we look at like from the biosocial model, right, then we're going to see a pretty typical cause where you see like the family dynamics where they're learning how to think and how to react is mixed with whatever is naturally happening in their body. So yeah, so Howard Hughes,
I was just gonna say, like, this isn't something that you can't develop at an older age.
No,
Like you
you can develop this at any
develop
point.
this at any point. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I say, like, there's not, agoraphobia is not one that we talk about too much. I mean, I haven't treated anybody with it. I've treated people who I think could be really good candidates for it if they continue down that path. But that's why I talk about it as that cycle. Because the more you avoid something, the more, typically the more anxiety you're going to experience, because you're not actually learning to deal with it. And you're not exposed. And so your brain begins to see it as bad. That's, I always use an analogy. Like if you're scared of a high dive, and you go up to the high dive and then you get back down, you're like, okay, well, this is too scary. I don't want to experience this. Well, then the next time you go up it, before you're even to the top of it, before you can even see the water, you're already starting to think about how scary it's going to be. So you get back down and then you're thinking about the ladder. So each time before you even get to the stimulus, you're already thinking about it, and it grows and grows until you can't even go to a pool without thinking of your fear of a high dive.
Right.
And that's how agoraphobia happens.
That's like panic attacks, right? You have a panic attack, and then a lot of the time the following panic attacks are about thinking about the panic attack.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't want to have a panic attack, and then you start panicking about having a panic attack before it even happens, and then you end up spiraling into a panic attack anyway.
Yeah, I think I have at least one client who I am very concerned about for this kind of future. And I definitely think like the fear ladder would be really helpful here. I was actually trying to work on that with one of my clients this week. And for our listeners, the fear ladder is just very much a very simple exposure therapy exercise where you talk about, this is my goal, and you work on steps that can get you to that goal, where you want to try to get as close to that anxiety as possible and kind of expand your window of tolerance. You want to get closer and closer and further to what is making you anxious in small, manageable steps, so that maybe you are able to leave the house and you don't feel like your world's going to collapse if you do, and all these things. Because like the more strength you give that anxiety, the stronger the cycle gets. And that's something that I try to remind my clients every single time we go through the cycle of anxiety, that anxiety gets stronger. So...
And it comes from classical conditioning, because what we're doing is, and that, because one of the theories behind phobias is that we begin to associate a natural response with an unnatural stimulus. So that thing that used to not cause fear, we are now associating it with fear. Fear is now naturally arising. And it's because we have new neuronal connections that are actually created from repeated associations with the stimulus and the fear. And so in order to reset that, we've got to go in and be able to calm ourselves down, which is why when we have the fear ladder or exposure hierarchy, whatever we want to call it, I think that it's also systemic desensitization, right? Yeah. What we got to do is we got to be able to pair this calming method, our ability to self-soothe, with this thing that we fear. And trying to tell somebody, and this, because I always get into like this greatest mental debate with people who are really good at avoiding. If you're telling somebody, okay, well, you got to go out of your house more. So say that they can't even like go out of their house. So the extreme case, they can't leave their house. And you're telling them, okay, well, we've got to be able just to step outside. The first thing they're going to do is tell you, well, I can't because it's too scary. What if something happens to me? I cannot guarantee that something's not going to happen to you. Mm-hmm. That's one of the hardest things is there is like, I cannot tell you that something's not going to happen. Because at any point, I always joke with my clients, we are completely out of control. Because at any point, an asteroid could kill us all. Can't do anything about that. So what you've got to be able to do is explain to them that part of what you're doing is recognizing that we are not in control and learning to be okay with that you absolutely can die, and that's okay.
Right. Yeah. Just the accepting of the possibilities and the understanding that you can't control everything outside of you.
Right.
Right. It's like saying there's a 2% chance you could get stabbed with a knife.
That's so scary.
But if you don't go, it's 100% chance that you don't get stabbed with a knife.
Right.
And then I'm going to tell you, so you should go because it's a low probability. That's not necessarily logical thinking. We like to think of that as logical thinking.
Right.
But I mean, you can debate all day how it's much more logical to assume 100% safe over 2% chance of fatality.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I know I also have an anxiety disorder.
This is why Annie needs 6 months to recover from us.
This is I really like this very like I assume it was originally made for younger kids or teens, but like this put your thoughts on trial activity with CBT. And for the put your thoughts on trial, you kind of look at what is best case scenario, what is the worst case scenario, and then what is the most likely. So like worst case asteroid, best case I have a great day and I go about my life.
Yeah.
Most likely case is actually not even the knife. Most likely case is like it's probably not going to be that great, but at least I left the house, right? Like we're kind of
just a neutral, just a normal day.
And so unlikely. I mean, what's important for us is to remember that our amygdala, which I learned this year, tells us that things are scary and they're not necessarily actually dangerous. But also on top of that, it's very unlikely that the best or the worst case scenario is going to happen. It is more likely it's going to be the middle ground. Yes.
You just learned about the amygdala?
Yeah, I refuse to learn about the brain. No, I learned about that actually outside of this podcast.
No, you also learned it from Coach.
Yeah,
remember he would do the thing?
No, I refuse to listen then. No. No, listen.
Well, and that's why the common treatments for agoraphobia, of course, I think we obviously know what the first one is. Kinsey, you want to guess?
Exposure therapy.
Yes. And then the second one?
Medication.
Oh, CBT.
Then medication.
But also medication. We here at Mentally Morbid suggest both medication and therapy.
Don't speak for me.
We love medicine.
We all do. Yeah. We love drugs. It's just the people who can't find them. So yes, this is agoraphobia. You can also treat with DBT. DBT, what they call it is non-judgmental thinking. So it's the same thing as CBT on that middle ground. They'll do like the worst, least possible, but it's going to be more like non-judgmental. So it's not that it's going to be great. It's not that it's going to be bad. We're just going to think of it non-judgmentally. It just is a day. Not going to be a bad day or good day. It just is a day.
Yeah. Right. And, exposure, it's important to note exposure therapy can be helpful for lesser forms of anxiety. You don't have to have exposure. You don't have to have agoraphobia to try it. So,
yeah.
Worth a shot for most anxiety.
Well, that's what it was really hard to do some research on this where you look at like the escalation of where this goes. But that's why, I mean, I'm not speaking from research on this because it's kind of hard to find the research on it. But that's why I say I think it's more about that escalation of you start off with panic disorder because there's like a high comorbidity, a high rate of these other disorders occurring with it, which is panic disorder, major depression, social phobia, generalized anxiety, OCD, and dysthymia, which is that the new term or is it the old term?
Dysthymia is the new term.
That's the new term. Yeah. So that's agoraphobia.
You should probably tell them what dysthymia means.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, I had to go Google it first. I think that's the one that's like, isn't that prevalent depression where it's like it's cyclical or something coming over and over again?
I don't actually know.
I've never diagnosed someone with that. Major depressive. Done.
Dysthymia is persistent depressive disorder. Low mood occurring for at least 2 years along with at least 2 other symptoms of depression. May not be as severe as major depression.
It's a long-term depression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I thought it was either that or rapid cycling. Go ahead. Sorry, Kayla.
It's okay. I was just going to say like I probably should have said this earlier, but kind of like what I said with the plane crash, like whenever you do have such high anxiety, you're always looking for the bad thing, right?
Yeah.
And so if you do go outside of your house and a bad thing happens, you are solidifying more, like your anxiety is solidifying further into that agoraphobia. So again, in the SpongeBob episode,
oh my god,
it's in season 3 and it's called I Had an Accident. SpongeBob breaks his butt, okay? And he starts staying inside, and he starts looking outside of his window, and he starts seeing all of the bad things that could possibly happen. And he refuses to leave his house. But exposure and kind of like whatever Annie said, like the talking through all of the things that could possibly happen, you have to look at both the positive and the negative, and kind of like neutralizing your anxiety. You're like, okay, could you break your butt? Yeah. Could you go outside and see your favorite bird at the bird feeder? Yes.
No, Kayla, I think you lose credibility. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
When you start off an intellectual conversation to describe what occurs within a mental health disorder with
SpongeBob
in the SpongeBob episode, I just really think you lose all credibility of what you say thereafter.
I'm just the coolest. That's what I'm understanding.
That's one word for it, Kinsey.
I'm gonna hashtag SpongeBob for the episode. I added it on the list. So,
thank you, Kenzie. I feel so loved.
She said it twice, so.
So you heard it from us and from SpongeBob. Agoraphobia, Howard Hughes. That's all I have for you today. So now we know a little bit more about it. Like I said, the story at first sounded like it was going to be boring, and then I found out that he ate the same dinner, the curtains were rotting, and he held his urine in some bottles. So
it takes a lot.
Agoraphobia.
To rot.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm more concerned about the fact that the curtains rotted, and they were thinking it was because he hasn't moved them.
Yeah,
I don't even know if that's a thing.
I haven't moved these curtains since I've lived here for 2 years. They're fine.
They're not rotted yet.
I think they're just cheap I think it's just cheap curtains, or maybe moths.
Right.
Oh, maybe he did something to them. Maybe that's why they were like, "Oh, this is terrible." Because maybe he did something to them. Either way, he's dead. He died.
He would die anyways. That was what 90 years ago.
Anyway, he's dead. Moving on. God.
Jesus Christ.
So, Mentally Morbid listeners, you have heard it from us, and SpongeBob Agoraphobia is a thing. If you want more information, go to season 3 of SpongeBob. He broke his butt. You can find out much more of this intellectual debate there than you can here, apparently.
He makes 3 friends. Penny, Chip.
Wow. Okay. Anyways, somebody take us the hell out of here, please.
Distinctly remember that episode. So, listeners, I still am really getting invested in CapCut. So if you would like to see any of the funny reels I make about myself and others, sometime this week we'll have a beautiful rendition of what Annie and Kayla's baby would look like, and it is terrifying. So if you want to follow, it looks like Gollum. If you want to follow us, I post on TikTok, Facebook,
my hair,
Instagram. We are at Mentally Morbid Pod. You can email us at mentallymorbidpod@gmail.com. And if you guys want to slide into my DMs, I'll send you a free sticker. I will respond eventually.
We actually do have someone who won a free sticker by messaging us. Shout out to
Tony. I loved our combo. If you want to be like Tony, Kayla will force me to give you merch. So please come on by. Until next time.
Anyways.
Yeah, the longest outro ever.
For the love of God.
It's because
please stay mental.
Stay morbid.
And we'll see you Tuesday.
Mentally Morbid.